Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
A guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds DRS.
PSGL, and after a little bit of a wait, about a week's absence with us losing Zandvoort due to F1 esports, good to have that back on the calendar, but we're back with PC F2 and we're back with PSGL and of course with Richie on the other side of the camera. How are you doing, my friend? It's good to be back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I can't wait to be back and get back into the action here in PSGL once again. And unfortunately, these are our two final races of this season. And that also means it's our two final races of the F1 23 game, which I think, you know, the game hasn't been perfect, but I think this game cycle has been brilliant. And, you know, this season on a whole, I think, has been brilliant as well, hasn't it, Sappy? We've had lots of different people taking wins, podiums. We've had many people also suffer a bit of I suppose, discomfort with the races as well. Obviously, Mirko, you know, in the last two races hasn't scored a point, which, when you look at his previous results, it's been 5 podiums on the bounce.
Yeah, and that is, of course, a story we can talk about shortly. But yeah, the final 2 races of the F1 23 game cycle here at PSGL. It's bittersweet because, as you say, the game hasn't been perfect. We have had a few run-ins with some issues at times. I think back to Portugal in particular. That was a little bit of a ride. For those who were watching during that time, you stuck with us. Fair play to you. But when it comes to F1 23 as a whole, I think it's been a really great title for league racing. It's been a great opportunity for leagues like PSGL and some of the talent within the league to really be able to showcase their talent and push themselves up in the tiers. I mean, we've seen some drivers promote themselves from F4 to F2 just in the span of the single game, some even further, but that is just the power of these kind of leagues and league racing. And so with F1 24 on the horizon and the reveal trailer, I think, coming out today, in fact.
What he has.
Yeah, the reveal trailer did come out today. Things are looking up, and I am very excited for continuing into F1 24 and beyond. Looking a little bit to the standings, I know you mentioned it earlier, but Mirko, 5 out of 6 podiums in the first 6 races, but P20 retirement and P18, I think, also a retirement in Baku. It's not been a good time for our current championship leader, has it?
No, really, you know, it really has not. And it was like that back in season 34. He did the exact same thing, was dominant for the first part of the season, but then near the end he dropped off a bit, and in the end obviously missed out on the championship to Jack West. But looking through the standings on your screen, we can see, of course, it is still Mirko who leads the standings on 64 points, 5 points now ahead of Reese Linton, who has been brilliant this season so far. Then Tucker Hardy in 3rd position in the standings, followed by Julian Klaffenbach in 4th after getting 2 podiums on the bounce now, really on a charge to try and get 2nd in this championship. Then in 5th we have Lenny Pepinta. In P6 we've got Kamil Stachera, Joost Noordijk in 7th, Jan Herde in P8, Lilian Dabecourt in 9th, Bradley Holdham rounding out the top 10. And so far, looking through that grid there, I'm going to say there's 2 drivers for me, Slappy, which really, that they've done better than the points they got on the board, and it's got to be Joost Noordijk and Jan Herde.
Yeah, they have done a real good job. Particularly Joost. I mean, the Haas pairing has been potent. There have been some scenarios where the strategy or any other kind of decisions, it hasn't always gone their way. But for Joost and for Jan, they both have the pace on tap, and they've had the glimmers of brilliance, as we've seen in previous races and previous seasons, for that matter. And while the points don't necessarily reflect it, as you say, they have been 2 drivers that I personally have kept an eye on. I know you have, and they have done very well. You look at the rest of the field, and P11 through 20, you have Jerry Van Bussel, Ian Godendorp, Daniel Koyer, Shimon Lekomsky, Nico Benz, Dylan Warren, Liam Stevens, Sergio Sabrino, Leo Lund, and Max Grosspointer in the 11 to 20 spots. I mean, Jerry Van Bussel, he is a reserve, but still P11.
Yeah.
So both got the call-outs, and when he did get the call-outs, made it work. P5 in Austria, P4 in Canada, and a P6 in Baku. When you're in a reserve spot, it's tough because, of course, you haven't got the full commitment of the seat, and that does leave you in a bit of limbo. But when you get that call-up, you're hot on the practice, you're quick on it, and it's proven in his favour.
Of course, and you know, when you get called up to a seat, normally you might only be a day before or maybe 2 days before. I mean, practice is very limited. It's very rushed. I mean, you might not get all out of the practice that you would have liked to, which is, you know, which makes Jerry Van Bussel's story even better. And maybe he can try and fight for a top 10 in this championship this season. Looking down as well, Nico Benz, what a story that could have been looking throughout this season. Back in Australia, took a second place, and since then, it's been, I think, DNF P10, obviously with a lot of did not starts as well throughout the season. He could have also been a driver that we would have looked at and thought, you know, maybe he could have been one for the championship as well, along with the likes of Joris and Lillian, who were two drivers I've been watching, you know, throughout this game cycle. And I thought, coming into this season, you know, they've moved from F3, they've moved from F4, now into F2, they've got a very good chance, and they really haven't got off the mark as much as I thought they would have done. And, you know, earlier on, we could keep saying, oh, well, maybe this race they can pick it up, maybe next race. But we've got 2 races left. You can't really say that now, can you? They've got to really do it now. And, you know, it's now or never, isn't it, for them too?
Yeah, it is a now or never call. You've kind of run out of chances. You have to make these last 2 races count because there's theoretically a maximum of 32 points on the line. 34 if you're counting fastest laps. I know we don't take too much pay to constructors, but it has been a particularly good season for the 2 Alpines, Linton and Pepinter. They've both got some really good points. We jump over to constructors super quickly before we start talking about the track and heading into qualifying in just a moment. But Alpine currently lead the charge. 4 out of the 8 wins are from the blue French suit, and then you've got 3 more coming from Ferrari, and then 1 coming from the McLaren of Tycho Hardy back in Portugal. So quite a decent spread of points across the constructors, but yeah, really good from some. I mean, the Haas pairing we briefly mentioned earlier as having the pace but not necessarily converting it into the points, and you can see the rest of them. But where we're going today, we're going Brazil.
Yeah, and Tappy, as we was both saying before the stream, I don't think we've ever experienced a bad race here, have we? Of course, along this brilliant circuit, of course, the Interlagos de Carlos Pace, or whatever it is called. A very Brazilian name, of course, and it is a really nice, agile circuit. 15 corners, of course, and around 4.3 kilometers long, and pretty much every corner on this circuit you can take it side by side, which makes racing brilliant. And means you could literally, I've seen in the past, battles which literally last a whole lap, which is something you don't very often say, do you, Sappy?
Yeah, it's very rare that you get to say that you watch a battle last for a whole lap, sometimes even longer, as drivers immediately go for positional retakes. But say 4.3 kilometers, 15 corners, and a absolute roller coaster of a track. Typical overtaking zones, you're looking at the first corner just after the start and finish. You're looking at places like turn 4 and into turn 5, because those are going to be where you commit the points before going into the final sector, or say sector 2/sector 3, which is a massive roller coaster down the back of the circuit. But we are just moments away, folks. We got cars going trackside now, so let's see what they can do. It's PCF2, it's PSGL. It's good to be back after a mini hiatus, and we're going to be jumping up to the front of the field with a bit of a sound error on the F1 game, it seems. But more importantly, first out, it's going to be Cy Pearson.
Yeah, we've got 3 reserves as well taking place here tonight. Daniel Kjelton for, I believe it will be Keen Godendorp. Then we have Louis Welch in for Bradley Holdham, and also we have Jerry Van Bussel in for Nico Benz. And, well, overtaking Mr. Cy Pearson was, I believe, one of the Hasses. That will be
Nordyke.
Well, yeah, just Nordyke, who, yet again, you know, he's took pole. He did a pole to win in Austria, got a penalty, which is, and of course had that big accident, which was definitely a bit of a shame for this season. You know, we could have maybe been up in towards that top 5 if that didn't happen. But he's got 2 rounds to go. He's always been quick in qualifying, and this circuit here, Sappy, is one of those where, you know, in the past, I think it was E-Series last season, we saw pole and second separated by literally 0.000, and earlier on in F3, we also saw that happen. So qualifying around here is going to be more of you know, normally you can lose a half a tenth in a sector and be fine. But around here, if you lose half a tenth in a sector, that could be the difference between first and 10th.
Yep, and that is going to be the crucial thing here. So drivers have to absolutely nail their laps. We're on board with Joost Noordijk here, coming down into turn 4 and 5. Delago is going to be rolling into the car. You see a little bit of middle of the road setup here. You're going to try and find the balance between pace, obviously with the 2 DRS zones, and then having the grip in the downforce and in your car's setup and geometry to get it right, especially as you see the car curving left to right, cambered corners, uphill, downhill, through the second sector as Noordijk comes out of turn 10. Heading down the hill, things tightening up very quickly. You have to jump on the brakes as you go slightly on the inclines. Junsao, turn 12, and then a quick shot to the finish. Full throttle all the way, 8th gear, soon as you can. And the first lap of the session, Noordijk is going to be an abandon from him. Looks like he wasn't too happy with that performance. So next behind him, it is going to be Pearson. What's it going to be from the AlphaTauri? It's going to be a 107.2. Let's see the rest of the field come in. Kjeldsen, 0.225, pips him by half a hundredth of a second. Derbacore coming immediately behind, just 4 thousandths behind his teammate. And Klappenbach with a 0.176. Jan Halliday going even faster, 0.032. So already blistering pace being set by the field.
Of course, a brilliant lap time there from Jan Halliday as Mirko Soriano goes up into P4 there with a 0.197. His teammate Camille goes up into third. What can Mr. Lenny Pepinto do as he heads his way through in towards the final couple of corners? Szymon Lakowski goes up into P2. Jonas Krozen goes into fifth. What can Lenny Pepinto do here as he heads up towards the line, goes up into only P10 there with a 0.270. We've got Joe Van Bussel who invalidates his lap and heads back into the pit lane. What will Daniel Kai do? It will be a 107.324 and pops himself up into P14 with Max Grossporter there in P15. So far, a 4/10-ish spread between the whole field, but only about 2/10 separated the top 12.
And you look even tighter. You look P3 through to P7, half a tenth of a second separates 5 positions. Ridiculous stuff, and shows how tight the margins are. Leoland and Sabrino, single millisecond. Pepinto and Pearson, same story. The margins are ridiculous here in Brazil, and these drivers are feeling the pressure immediately. We've still got 13 minutes. Laps are about a minute, so you're going to get at least 3 good more runs. But drivers have got the bankers down, with the exception of Linton, Welch, Noordijk, Hardy, and Van Bussel. I think Noordijk is going to be the first one to go for another run.
Indeed, he's just heading through in towards Larangina and Fedadura. I think it is up at turns 6 and 7. So we'll see what he can do on this next run. And as I said before, he's a driver who will be looking to try and take pole. He'll be a driver looking to try and take a victory here tonight in PSGL PCF2. Of course, here for Brazil, and next week we're off to Texas for the American or the USA Grand Prix. And we'll see what they can do there. But of course, there's still this rain left to go, so there's no point focusing on next week. You need to focus everything on tonight and your performance here in Brazil. Of course, Louis Welch, Reese Linton, Tucker Hardy also out on the circuit now, and along with, I believe, Jerry Van Bussel, looking to get their first laps underway here in this session. A little bit out of sync to the others, so hopefully they don't get caught up with anyone else who heads out on the track. And so far, and we have as well, I think it'll be Julian and Jan also heading out onto circuit. But on board here with Joost Noordijk once again. We'll see, Safi, what he can do on this next run, or we should say his first run.
Yeah, he's going to have to be careful, though, because you are seeing a few cars coming out of the pit lane. He's going to have to be mindful of traffic, but sportsmanship being shown, these drivers will get out of the way at the earliest available opportunity. There's the penalty for illegal blocking, so that will be a lobby restart at the end of this qualifying session. Either way, coming down to turns 4 here, there's going to be a stray Alpine. I believe that was Linton. Oh no, that was Yeltsin, my mistake. But he's coming through there, and that is going to be Noordijk scything his way through some of the runners who are just trying to get themselves set up for a lap. And you can see them peeling off, getting out of the way, making sure that Noordijk has all the room he needs. He's undisturbed for his lap here. Looking pretty good on the sectors so far. He's putting down some decent pace, decent timings. Coming up to the end of Sector 2 now. What times are going to be able to flag relative to his first run? Say 50.3, so looking good on the pace. That's just slightly off current leader Jan Halliday with a 0.032. So what is Noordijk going to be able to post as we come through turns 14 and 15 now? Final stretch, tucking in as close as they can to the inside wall. It's a 0.7 or 0.082. That is going to put in P3 and a second row for both Haas drivers.
Indeed, a very nice lap from Joost Noordijk. We'll see here what Reece Linton could do as he heads his way up towards the line. He goes up into fourth there, along with, we'll have Tucker Hardy heading through as well. We'll see what he can do and what he can put on the board. But I think ahead of him might be Louis Welch. Yes, Louis Welch is ahead as they head their way down in towards turn number 9 at Penarino, and then, of course, up to turn 10 at Bico to Pato. We'll see what Louis Welch can do. Of course, this season hasn't been the best for Louis, but, you know, we've seen in the past he can fight near the top, so hopefully he can try and do that here tonight in Brazil as he heads his way into Junso, and Mercedes there just about in the way, moves out the way at the last second, so that should be fine here for Louis, and hopefully didn't lose any time as he headed his way through in towards turn number 12, and we'll see what can Louis set on the board as he heads his way up towards the line. It will be a 107, and it will be only P16 there, a 0.296, as that was also Lenny Pinter, I think, or Tucker Hardy, sorry, going up into 12th.
Yep, and he got one driver left to set a time on this field. It's Jerry Van Bussel in the Aston Martin. We talked about him before the show. So Reserve once again stepping into the fold. Let's see what he can do. His fourth race here in PCF2. Unfortunately, he just invalidates coming out of Jinsao, so he's going to have to go for yet another run. The track is absolutely alight with cars trying to get some runs in, trying to get some times. They've got the bankers down, and now it's time to lock in a little bit more pace as the field spread is continuing to tighten.
Of course, here I'm on board with Max Grossportner, who's up by just over a tenth and a half in that second sector, so we'll see what he can do as he heads his way up towards the line. Many cars going back into the pit lane after their initial runs. I think Lillian Dabecourt goes to the line. He does, goes in P9 there for the AlphaTauri team, and Max Grossportner goes up into P13 there for the Sabres, as that will be Lukomsky, who goes to the top. The first driver into the 106s with a 106.970 now on provisional pole. We'll see who else is on a lap time. I don't think there's many people that are still on a lap time at the moment there. That was, I believe, Daniel Kaya going up into P10 now in the McLaren.
Yeah, we've got Camel Staturer going into the pits. He was on a lap, but abandoned, it seems. And now we've just got a few cars left out on the field, but most of them seem to be on abandons, or at least on the cool down laps. So we are seeing a little bit of a cooling down period for everyone on the field. We've got 8 minutes to go left in qualifying. So far, things are looking very, very contested, particularly in the P3 to P10 range. I mean, look at the field spread. Look at just how tight the times are. I know we emphasized it before, but just over a tenth of a second separating these times. And it's ridiculously tight. Even just a minor amount of slip, letting off the throttle just a frame or two too early, can cost you a single or even two positions.
Yeah, and you know, you look at the board there, Reece Linton in fourth and Kai Pearson down in P17. There's only around a tenth and a half, maybe a little bit more than that, separating those two, and they are, what, nearly 13 positions away from each other. That shows that now any of these in the midfield, they find a tenth of an improvement, they jump up so many positions. So it's crucial to find your improvements here in this next part of the qualifying session there. We could see then that is Jan Herdijk, who's currently in second, heading back out on the circuit. Did for a second run earlier on, but has decided to go out once more for technically a third run on the circuit, and we'll see what he can do. This is currently on the provisional front row there, just ahead of Joost Noordijk, who's about half a tenth back from him, and then of course about half a tenth ahead of him is Szymon Lukomski. Of course, doing a brilliant job so far this season. Hasn't had the results really to look at it, but you know, I think he's been on pole once before this season, so he's used to being at the top, but maybe he's just not got that longevity when it comes towards that race stint.
Yeah, the longevity of his stints and being able to manage under the full race conditions may be a little bit of a weak point for him, because he has got the pole before and he has converted some points. He's currently P14 in the standings. But it's just, that pace that we're seeing on full display in quali is just not fully converting at the moment. Hopefully these last two races change that narrative a little bit. But as you said earlier, just a single tenth or a good couple of corners can be anywhere from P1 through P3, because there's a tenth between those, or it can be all the way from P6 to P18. So insane stuff here, but we're on board with Jan Halliday right now. We're going to see the types of times that he's going to be putting down. Cars on the field. Mercedes seemingly stopped. I believe that's the Mercedes of Joris there. it's going to be a little bit of diciness, but second sector so far looking fairly clean. Jan Helle coming through up into turn 10 here. Little bit of jumpiness on the throttle. You can hear him banging the rev limiter. But coming up to the end of the second sector, it's going to be 7/100ths of a second faster. Can he convert that into the final stretch here? Coming down, turn 13, 14, 15. Going as tight as he can to the left side. Tucking in as much of that line he can shave off. He's going to into 8th gear. Firing it across the line. 0.947. That is our new pole position time.
A brilliant time indeed, as we can see Julian Klaffenbach go up in 2 and stays 5th. Didn't improve on that lap here. We have Mirko Soriano, our championship leader, looking to try and get a good lap time on the board here tonight as he heads his way up towards the line. Goes from 8th and still goes up to 2nd there. Brilliant there. Just now what, 100th separating 1st and 2nd here. Mirko Soriano back on form here in qualifying, it seems, at the moment. But many cars still yet to come through and set a lap time in this next part of the qualifying session. We got Lenny Pinter, who heads back into the pit lane. We got, I think it was Tiger Hardy, who goes up into 5th there. Just about, what, 7,000ths off the back of Joost Noordijk. So far, it's interesting, but we've also got here Szymon Lekomski as well on a lap time. He's down by 1/10 of a second. So, and you can see there, Sappy, one mistake on his lap has cost him 1st and 2nd now.
Yep, and that is the brutal reality of Brazil. With margins as tight as these, you cannot afford to make even the tiniest of mistakes. D'Herbecourt, despite half a tenth improvement only, has jumped all the way up into P7, and that's just emblematic of the dynamics of this circuit here. A few more cars are going to be coming through here. Taika Hardy, I think, on cooldown. Soriano coming into the pits very shortly. And that leaves just a few key cars here. We've got Leo Lund, who I think is on a run here. And we're going to see also, I think Sabrino started a run, but Lund currently P15. One of those drivers where we kept an eye on, but seemingly dropping off, seemingly cooling off. Not really sure what's happened there, because he was down on the time. The Delta was good.
Yeah, he's gone back into the pit, so I'm not sure why he's done that. Maybe it's also because he wants to have a final run in the session when the track's at its best. But there we can see as well, Sergio Sabrino up into P6. Brilliant there from the, I believe, race driver, doing a very good job at the moment. Brilliant to see him fighting a little bit high up on the grid. And further down as well, we've got Lilian D'Herbecourt in P8 as well, doing a brilliant job for his team in the AlphaTauri, of course. Paired up with Kai Pearson, who's yet again had a bit of a poor qualifying at the moment, along with Lenny Pinter, has took pole 3 times this season. But last week, I remember him not having the, not last week, the week before, I remember him not having the best qualifying. And then, of course, here tonight, down in 17th, nearly 2.5 cents off of the pole position time. Lenny has got a lot of work to do to try and bounce back. Remember, he is 5th in the championship. And he was 3rd 2 rounds ago. So, yet again, he's just also showing us that a couple of bad rounds can drop you down so far in the championship. And Mirko, if he didn't have that championship lead at the start, he would also be quite far down now.
Yeah, Mirko, I think, knows that story better than anyone here, because had an amazing first half of the season, and then with the 2 rounds gone, so Portugal and then Baku, both being out of the points, both being retirements, hopefully we are seeing some return to form here for the current championship leader, but the lead has all but evaporated. What was a 20-plus point lead has now gone down to just 5 between Soriano and Linton.
Yeah, indeed. And it's mental, isn't it, to see those two go from being so far to so close within the matter of 2 rounds. That is all it has taken. And now, Reece Linton, I would say, to what Mirko's been doing recently, he's probably in a better position here than Mirko Soriano. So we've just got to see what these two can do in the final couple of rounds. And of course, if those two have a stinker, we've got Tiger Hardy in 3rd, 14 points back off the lead. He can also try and bounce back and try and get himself fighting for that championship, maybe next week in Texas, depending how Mirko's race and Reese's race goes. But we have the final laps now getting underway. So guys, let us know in the chat who you think will take pole position here tonight for the Brazilian Grand Prix. So far, it is Jan Hardy on provisional pole ahead of Mirko Soriano in 2nd place. And I believe Jan Hardy did take pole back in Belgium, I think, 7 rounds ago.
Yep, and that is the question of who is here going to be taking pole position. Is Jan Halliday's to lose, but he's going out for one more run, as is the entirety of the rest of the field. You can see how much is bunching up between turns 11 and 12 on that track map there. Just everyone trying to burn as much fuel as they can, stretch it to the line. 40 seconds until the checkered flag drops, so everyone now is fully committed to this last run. It is go in or game over. Crossen now coming through into turn 9, was riding the camber of the corner very well, looking nice and in control with that W14. Final sector of the circuit is going to be the test, though, if he can convert this very smooth running and hopefully very quick running. Yes, it's a 10th down. It's a 10th down on the Delta. That could put him as up as P5. He just needs to bring it home. Crozen now coming through into the final couple of corners. Let's see what he can put down here as the checkered flag now falls. It's getting a little bit cloudy, but it's a little bit late for that because Crozen coming in P4, first finalised time. Next up, you've got one of the AlphaTauris, that's Kai Pearson, immediately going to be dispelling him down into P5, who's going to be pushing him further, but Count Statura making it even further there. Shimon Lakomsky, a 0.829. So that Williams coming out of nowhere to absolutely demolish these last few laps by over a 10th of a second. Lakomsky looking like a rocket.
He's indeed brilliant so far here from Lakomsky as Reese Linton goes up into P4. Can we find any improvements here from Mirko Soriano looking to go up towards the line? Where will he go? And he does. He stays in third there. What about Jan Halliday? Can he get first place? No, he can't. He will stay in second, as we've also got a couple more cars left to come through. Sergio Sereno is down on his time after rain invalidation, and that was as well, I think, Leo Lund popping himself up into P10 there. So a bit of a quite a dramatic end into qualifying, but Lakomsky on pole by, I believe, a 10th of a second. What a lap time there.
For a 10th of a second. Say, it was, if I'm doing my napkin maths right here, it was, I believe,
1.2.
Yeah, so 0.118 of their second. There you go. So about a 10th, just over a 10th. And it's looking like an absolutely legendary time. He didn't even get any of the best sector times. He just put down a ruthlessly consistent lap within the best sectors. But here we go, folks. This is your final wrap-up. Lishalkomsky, Halliday, Suriano, Linton making up your first two rows with Statura, Pearson, Grosspointer, Nordyke, Pipinter, and Lund making your top 10. Then going into the bottom half, P11 is Tycho Hardy, followed by Croson, Sabrino, Koya, Derbicourt, Stevens, Klaffenbach, Welch, Kjeldsen, and Van Bussel rounding out the bottom of the field, just 4/10 away. And wowie, like that is just an insane qualifying from all involved there. Brilliant stuff had by all. Now, we are going to take a short break, folks, because we have got to reset the lobby. So stick with us while you hear a word from one of our great sponsors, the people who support us. We'll be back with you soon.
Talk.
And welcome back, folks. So that's what we love to do here. We say we talk for England, but of course it's support the people who support us. Say great sponsors like GT Omega, Sim Racing Centre. They're what make these leagues possible. So use code PSGL for discounts at checkout for both sites. And with that all being said, 4/10 between P1 and P20 in qualifying. I mean, you can already chalk off a single 10th of that thanks to Lakomsky with an absolutely insane lap. Less than 3/10 P2 to P20.
Yeah,
where do you even
brilliant.
begin with that?
Well, it just shows how close this grid is, doesn't it? You know, this whole F2 grid, this whole season long have all been so close. You know, podium-wise, we've had around, I think, 11 or 12 podium sitters in 8 rounds, which is, you know, to what we normally expect, quite a lot. And, you know, consistency's been there, but consistency hasn't always been at the top for every driver. Mirko, I would say, has been probably the most consistent, and he's had 2 races with being last. So that shows how up and down this grid can be, you know, we can see anyone really fight for a podium going in towards rounds. We can see Jan Halliday, 8th in the championship, hasn't really fought for pole much. take second place here in qualifying, and now he's in a good position to try and take a podium here in Brazil. Of course, it's very easy to overtake, but it's also very easy to defend your position. So Jan, in a very good position here as well in second, but Soriano in third, I believe, in qualifying. Now puts him also in a good situation because he's ahead of all of his championship protagonists, and he's in a very good position just to hold where he's in third and try and push forward if he can. And, technically, if he gets third today, he's got a 100% podium streak.
Yeah, and you can't really go wrong with that. 100% podium streak. If that's not a stat to be proud of, I don't really know what is. But say, just a reminder of the standings before we jump into the round good and proper, and while we get ourselves set up. So Soriano with 5 points of a gap between himself and Linton, and after that qualifying, say both of them being split by just 14 thousandths of a second on this field. So very much tensions being high and very much looking like a fight to the very end for a lot of our key championship protagonists. Say other notable mentions, Klaffenbach, of course, being 45 points, so just slightly out of reach of top honours, but could still very much be on the cards for a podium position here. And then Papinta going to be joining the ranks in P9, I believe he qualified in. So he is going to be still on the radar. Let's say Camille Statura making it P5. And with the best Sector 3 time, Linton actually got the best Sector 2. And the first sector record goes to Kai Pearson. So some different spreads. Usually we see with a domineering lap, and I especially expected from Lekomsky, him to just dominate all the sectors, because you don't just get a 10th like that. But actually, no, it's pretty well spread. And Lekomsky's lap, if you actually break it down sector by sector, it is a very close time to all of the sector bests, but it's just that consistency. And I think there's something to be said about that in all fronts that puts you a step above even the fastest of league races.
Well, the fact there's 20 drivers separated by 4/10 of a second, and Lekomsky is quicker than a tenth. He's quicker than a tenth to second. Just shows, how good he is and how consistent his lap was. And then going into the race, he's just now got to learn to kind of, I suppose, keep yourself calm. Don't, get too pressurised, because we know around this circuit there's a lot of swapping and changing, especially between first and second, because all those behind are all going to be looking to try and make moves as well. So you've got to constantly be, on the ball, knowing what to do, knowing your strategy, which I think is also going to play a key part around this circuit. We expect to see soft to medium and hard to medium. We could see, we could see change if there's different weather, if the rain comes. But you expect to see the same strategies between most. And if you need the front, you're more likely to start on the hards. If you need the back, you might want to jump on the softs to get a bit of a launch at the start, and then sort yourself into that DRS train, and then pick with all the others and go into a set of medium tyres.
Yeah, I know we were discussing slightly before, but it seems to be that if you want to jump up some positions, or if you have the pace and the wherewithal to gamble, then softs are a pretty good tyre to get some really good pace down, if not for a few laps, because especially that Sector 2, it can be pretty hard hitting on the rubber here. Mediums don't seem to be like the way to go. They seem to be the secondary tyre in most strategies, and while this does typically happen with a lot of league racing strategy anyway, it seems particularly potent here in Brazil.
Yeah, indeed. Strategy, I think, looking through it the season, we can, if you pick away people's races and you look at certain drivers, you can see where they've made and lost positions just due to literally pitting a lap later or a lap earlier. And that's what it can come down to. If you go for an overcut and you pit 1-2 laps later, you can drop maybe 3 or 4 positions behind the people you used with before, and then you can struggle to get back through if you can't pass in the DRS train. So you've got a lot of work to do, and you've got to make sure your strategy is perfect around here, because making moves is difficult. When you're in a train of 20 drivers and during the middle of that train, making moves means you need to burn your battery or just be clear in the corners and then get a good exit on towards that back straight heading down to turn 1. So a lot of work needs to be done here. So if you're second and third, you're probably in the best position of absolutely anyone on the circuit. First, I wouldn't say you're even in close to a good position, because you're literally going to get launched by the people behind. You can lose 3 or 4 drop positions on one straight.
Yeah, and that's a very odd paradigm to consider, because one would easily think that first is the ideal place to be, but no, it does leave you open to attack. Especially once the DRS comes into play lap 3, it is a very vulnerable position to be in, because you either have to expend resources, expend your battery, or you have to play a little bit of a game of leapfrog. You can play that into your favor. You can set up a sort of what I like to call pendulum motion so that you are coming out on top by the final lap. But that's not until after the pit stop. And as we mentioned earlier, the overcut and the undercut are both different schools of strategy that you can, depending on your strategy, employ to very powerful effect, particularly in Brazil. Looking at the rest of the field, as now they are in the lobby, it's confirmed. We're just waiting on the full go-ahead. A reminder, folks, this is our penultimate round of the season. So it's going to be just this and then Texas. And then we will be officially closing doors on the F1 23 game and moving on, setting our sights of F1 24. The reveal trailer did come out today. And while I say looking very shiny, as reveal trailers tend to do, I'm very curious to see what it holds for the future of league racing. Say F1 esports, or F1 sim racing, I should say more accurately, is now back on the table, and it does look like that is going to be a continuing force that will see much more of a limelight in F1 24's season run. I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
I am. Yeah, same here. You know, I've been here since F1 2021, well, at the end of that cycle, and then F1 22 was a bit poor. F1 23 has been a bit better, but I expect F1 24 to be really, really good. You know, this game has been decent. We've had a few issues here and there, but it hasn't been really the end of the world issues. You know, there was, I think, well, the main issue was at the start of the game with the tyre wear and stuff with the different cars, but that's all been sorted out and that is back to normal. But yeah, I think that game's going to be brilliant, and of course, track updates as well for many circuits. Spa as well, going to have a massive track uplift along with Silverstone. So next game, it's looking positive, and I think one good thing I saw, and I saw someone put a message in the general chat earlier, was that it's good that they've not announced many big major things in terms of a brand new mode and stuff like that. So that means that hopefully they're going to fix on actually making the game modes that are there work a little bit better.
Yeah, and of course time will tell. We can very much look back on this and swing either way, but I think you're all right. It's good. I'm hoping, and it's looking like the game is picking a strategy of refinement over massive overhauls, and I think that is what it needs above all else. It's, say, tweaking the issues, getting things fully ironed out. I know the beta got seeded out fairly recently to certain individuals, and while I don't really know the scope of that, I know that there's been buzz on social media about it. Things are, say, looking up. Things are looking up, and I'm going to be eagerly awaiting, but as it currently stands now, folks, we are about to head trackside, and we are jumping into Brazil, good and proper. Like you can see,
Indeed.
sunset.
Yeah, sunset.
Oh, well, it looks. Let's say the sun is coming over there, coming over the grandstand.
Yeah.
You could have fooled me.
At least it's not raining though. That's a good thing, isn't it?
That's true. Looking all dry here in Brazil. And this has been a track that's typically seen some tumultuous weather, so I wonder how consistent that's going to be. I mean, we saw the clouds coming over the horizon just at the end of qualifying, so if we stayed in there for more than 5 minutes, it may have gone to rain. So the weather is very much volatile, and that may play a hand in the race, but of course, time is going to be the great tell-all, as everyone is now just gearing up, locking in their setups, and then very soon we will be going on a bit of a ride, bit of a roller coaster here for the penultimate round of season 36. And here we go, folks. We are now getting ourselves ready. Here's 5 red lights. The track is hot here in Brazil, and immediately we are getting away. Looks like Jan Halliday trying to go for the run immediately. Much better launch than Szymon Lekomski. Going to go straight to the inside there on the soft tyre, immediately pressing the advantage. You see shifting around the rest of the field as well. Linton briefly making a move on Suriano. It's not looking like that's going to be sticking though. Lekomski on the hards, in fact. He's going to be dropping like a stone. Suriano's already across. 2-3 wide. You can see towards the back of the field. That is the Saubers going for a bit of a push, and then Lekomski is yielding again to Linton this time. I think Lekomski is playing a bit of a longer game, the hard to medium strategy, waiting on the soft runners to push themselves out of the comfortable window. Staturer, though, we just saw in the background going very wide. He dropped 5 positions there.
Yeah, a little bit of contact with Lekomski dropped him, you know, down to P7 and fighting for P8 with Lenny Papinta, as Papinta's up the inside here of the Ferrari. And I think Papinta's got the move done there. He's into P7, goes the Alpine driver. Further ahead, of course, Lukomski now down to P5 after starting in second. He will be looking to try and hold as many positions as he can to not drop too far back here in this train. But then at the end, he should be in a very good position because he can take these hards a lot longer than those can take the soft tyres. Now, Max Gross put her into P5 there in the Saber car, and Tiger Hardy up into P9, just ahead of Joost Noordijk, because Lukomski tries to fight back here with Max up the inside into turn 2, and we've seen that end horribly before, but luckily they all make it through safe and sound, and now that has compromised Lukomski's line down to turn 4, as we've got Papinta making a move along with Stasher as well, so Lukomski down to P8.
Yeah, and while it may look rough for him here, I think he's playing a little bit of a different game. Though Joost is very close, and he hasn't really seen the same drop that Lukomski has, so it's not looking too great for him when you put that context in and put it into a little bit of that perspective. Camille has recovered decently, is now putting pressure on the back of Papinta, trying to regain what he has lost. Meanwhile, Pearson coming up to the back of Linton all the same, and we're seeing this top grid be very tightly squeezed. Occasionally going for some moves, but at this point, a lot of the soft runners are just staying in each other's toe, playing it a little bit safe. They're waiting for the DRS to open, I think, and then they're going to be seeing a lot more decisive moves.
Of course, as we can see here as well, Debecourt looking to make a move on the back of Sabrino down towards turn number 1, further ahead. Kai Pearson there just took it in with his teammate Reese Linton as they head down in towards the first corner with Max Grosborn on the back of those two. Further back, we can see Sabrino now ahead of Noordijk, and into P11 goes the Mercedes, and now Mercedes here looking to be in a bit of a better race overall. Haven't had the best season at all, the team haven't, but Sergio and Joris now looking to be on the edge of a couple of points here in tonight's Grand Prix. As further back, we can see Debecourt making a move ahead of Noordijk. Noordijk sends it back up the inside, and Debecourt hit the rear of Sabrino there in towards that fourth corner, so hopefully no damage was caused to those two, as now Lillian keeps himself ahead of Joost, and now Daniel Kaya looking to make his way through into P13, sends it into turn 8, has to back out. That wasn't going to work very well.
Well, certainly no love lost between these drivers, I can tell you that much. And as things currently stand, lap 3, DRS now enables. We're going to see a few moves, potentially a few sends, but we'll, of course, have to wait and see on that one. The Alpine of Papinta currently set P6, looking to get into the top 5 with Gross points just up the road here. Jan Halliday, he wanted to get that gap opened up to a second. He wanted to get out of that danger zone, but now Soriano can start to reel in the Aston and start to really make a push on that P1 position. We can already see just in the space of that single zone, he's lost about half of his lead. Though Jan can fight it. We've got the second DRS zone coming up. Let's see. Is Soriano going to commit fully to the move at this point of the race? Or is he going to yield and hold back? Battery looking full, and he's going to stay behind. I think he's trying to run Jan out of a battery here.
Yeah, he's just sitting behind and using that DRS to his advantage to also keep himself some battery. Also, reduce his tyre wear on the car. You can see going into corners, he's not even pushing at all. He's lifting in some of the corners. And of course, that is all the same for those behind as well in this train, all the way down to the back of the field in P20 as Daniel Kaya there making a move ahead of Joost Noordijk for P13. Joost has to stick it around the outside into Pico de Pato. We'll see if he can do so. Daniel should have a better run in towards the corner. Does have a better run into turn 10. On the exit, Joost still runs side by side as they head their way down to Junseo, and the only issue they got to now face is possibly losing that DRS as they head their way into Junseo now, and Daniel does get the move ahead of Joost Noordijk, and now moves his way up into P13 to now charge after the rear of Lillian Debecourt, who's in P12, and then further ahead we can see Lukomski closing in on the back of Staturo, but we've got Hardy on the outside of the Williams. If he can try and make it the long way round into turn 1, he does so, has a bit of a compromise line into turn 2. Lukomski on the outside and has a better run, and Hardy still down in P9.
Yeah, and as I was just looking towards the back, as Noordijk was going to be on the defensive from Jeltsin very soon. He's 2 tyre compounds down in terms of grip, but you wouldn't think so for the kind of driving he's put on. He's really putting up a good fight. And as you mentioned there, nearly putting Koya out of the DRS. That would have been a very, we'll say, a very bad move in terms of your wider race strategy, because that means you're also out of pocket. But nearly put him in that tight spot. So Noordijk's not giving it up for anything, and Lukomski's finally found a little bit of equilibrium as well. He's currently sat P8, and he seems fairly static in his position. He's not letting anyone touch any more spots. He's stuck there in P8. He's not going anywhere.
Of course, and give it, maybe 3 or 4 more laps. These softs will look to start dying down. They won't be as, pushes the on air, meaning eventually there's not really going to be any chance for Tycho to make a move unless he pushes very, very hard. So Lukomski, I think, is definitely sorted in this P8. I don't think he'll go higher, but I don't think he'll really drop any lower, as we can see at the front of the field there. Jan Herde still leading the way ahead of Mirko Soriano and Dries Linton in third. Obviously, second and third place. Soriano and Linton are championship protagonists here this season so far. Just 5 points separates the two coming into this round. So the key thing here for Reese is to finish ahead of Mirko. Mirko's thing is just to finish as far ahead as he can of anyone, because further back behind those, of course, is Tycho Hardy, who's only 9 points back. So from Reese Linton. So realistically, Mirko's got to try and get a win here tonight, hasn't he?
Yeah, he wants to get that secured, or at least get a much better chance of the championship win. And coming off of the rough stint he had, I'm a firm believer of momentum. It's something that you can pick up, but once you start getting wins and good results, it's a lot easier to keep them going. Soriano's starting from the bottom floor here. He's got to work his way up. He's doing very well thus far to keep it in P2. His only real priority at this point, considering Hardy, Klaffenbach, Pipinta, they are a bit further down the order, either in points or in the standings here in Brazil. Linton is his main priority. As long as he stays ahead of him, he's still got a fighting chance. Remember, just the trade between these two here, as we're going to see a three-way fight. That's going to be Jan Halliday conceding the position and knowing that his time may be up. He needs a bit of a recharge of his own, but Linton's made it a double. He's gone past Soriano and Halliday, but is he going to keep it? Let's see what he can do here. Soriano's going to be straight back on it. He knows the stakes, but he's going to yield. Someone who isn't going to yield is Kai Pearson. He's going to go alongside Halliday here, keep the fight up, coming out of that second DRS and then heading into the second sector here. They're still going to remain neck and neck, though Pearson eventually has to yield.
Yeah, of course, you could see Jan was trying to push Mirko through, and because he couldn't get past Mirko, Pearson was went up the inside into turn 4 and nearly got that move done. We can see as well Lukomski now looking to make a move to get himself back into P7 ahead of one of the soft runners, being Kamil Stacher. Into P7 goes Szymon Lukomski, and they're looking to try and progress further through this field on the back now with Lenny Pipinta, who's also on the rear of Mats Grossbottom there for P5 as they head their way through into turn number 12, back down towards turn number 1. And we'll see here what can Pipinta do here. Of course, using a bit of battery there to try and launch ahead of Grossbottom, but can do nothing there as they head their way down towards turn 1. And yet again, it looks like a bit of chaos on lap 7, brings nothing here, heading on to lap 8 as they head their way down towards turn number 1. Lukomski yet again now on the rear of Pipinta. These hards are looking to come into a bit of fine form here in this race.
Yeah, we're starting to see that crossover point where not necessarily equal grip level, the hards are suddenly becoming a lot more viable. Lukomski, you can see, he dips to the inside, though that was to cool down his engine a bit. The temps are getting a little bit high. That is the dangerous part with sticking behind everyone for so long. You don't get that fresh, cool air passing over your car, which means that the cooling is compromised. You do have to eventually dip out of the slipstream in order to get your temps for both your brakes and your power unit under control. So he has dipping out there. Liam Stevens is going to be getting insult to injury there. P20, but also being handed track limits infraction. 3-second time penalty being received. And this top 8 is looking very spicy at the moment, because while they're not making necessarily any movements now, everyone is keenly watching each other, watching their movements, what they do, and they're trying to set themselves up. So eventually, the dominoes are going to fall, and these drivers are going to pounce.
Yep. And the issue we have here with people looking to make moves is one of them eventually will make a mistake, and that mistake, once that mistake is made, other drivers will fall with them. So they've got to keep themselves, always looking their moves, always looking behind and ahead to know they're not going to run into the back of someone or being ran into the back of by another car. As you can see them all there moving out the way as they head down towards turn number 4 at the Ciudad del Lago, and they head back up towards turn number 6 up the bit of a hill to the two right-handers, and Mirko Soriano here under pressure there from Jan Halliday, but Jan backs out for just a little bit of a second as they head their way down. As they head down towards that corner.
Or a little bit of shakiness from Sobrino there. So we jump on. We just see him lose the car through turn 6. Luckily, no major incident, but that could have been very much curtains for the Mercedes driver. He's now under severe pressure from both Derbacourt and Nordijk. And like Lukomski, Nordijk is currently in P13, but he's looking to make some movements back up. Those hards are starting to come into play a lot more.
Of course, and a message in chat from Dylan Warren says that it's a big contrast to F3, as there was only 3 soft runners there. So very different in terms of strategy here. I expected myself to see more more hard runners than there is. As now we can see Jan Herde making his way up into P2, or looking to make his way into P2 ahead of Soriano. They go the long way round turn 2 into P2 goes Jan Herde, and now looking to push after the rear of Linton. But now we can see Kai Pearson looking to make a move as well to get himself into second, but he can't because Soriano's on the outside of Halliday. They go side by side into turn 4. Who comes out ahead? Will it be the Aston Martin or will it be the Ferrari? Will be Jan Herde in the Aston Martin back into second place. And Pearson yet again looking to make a move, but just can't find a way past any of them to get himself into that podium position.
That sector was a masterclass in defending by Halliday there. He knew that Soriano was going to be on his right. He knew Kai Pearson was sliding in like a vulture, trying to capture some scraps at the end. He was going to try and get at least a P3 out of that. So by perfectly spacing himself to where no car can get past the both of them, he allowed himself to retain P2, stay in the apex, and keep the position for another lap. Great job there from the Aston.
Of course, as we could see then for a second, Papinta there looking to make a move ahead of Grossport to pop himself up into P5, but backed off as they went through into turn number 11. But yet again, they head down towards turn number 1 for the 11th time in this race, and it still is Reesington who leads ahead of Halliday, who now takes the lead ahead of Linton, and now Mirko Soriano in third, looking to try and yet again make some moves. As we can see Lekomsky under pressure once more from the Ferrari. Liam Stevens is retired in the pit, and Lekomsky gets pushed off the track there by Kamil Statra down at turn number 2 at the centre S. That allows Tiger Hardy to make a move past Sir Williams, and also Joris Krozen to try and gain in himself, and also Lekomsky, Sappy, I've noticed, has got no battery in the car, and he's got 5% to use.
Yeah, well, to try and keep that position, stay in the top 10, he had to make a couple of sacrifices. And while the hards are starting to be more in line with the softs at this stage of the race, they still aren't quite up to par grip-wise. So he had to expend a bit of battery, defend his position. DRS or not, everyone's got the DRS. Nobody is out of that train. So the advantage that you would have gained, with the exception of first place, the point is mostly moot. He had to make those compromises there. Hopefully now he's in a position where he can start saving a little bit of juice and get himself into fighting form by the time the soft runners pit in.
And yet again, they head down towards turn 1 once more, and Kai Pearson for a second used a little bit of battery on the exit of John Say, but realises that no move will be made, so he backs off as they head back down towards turn number 1 there. As we can see, moves looking to be made. Joris Krozen ahead of Lekomsky into turn 1 there, goes a little bit deep. Does see Mercedes gets a decent run out of turn 2, and then Lekomsky gets an even better run out of turn 2. Now we're looking to try and pull it side by side with Krozen down towards turn number 4, but no move can be made further ahead. We can see yet again Soriano looking to try and get ahead of Linton, but backs off because he knows the move isn't on in towards turn number 4. And that's the issue now that those of Soriano, Pearson and Grossport have, is they can't make a move ahead because they've got really no advantage ahead of anyone, because those ahead have also got a bit of DRS to use.
Yeah, and it's not a case of whether he can make the move, because I don't doubt Soriano can make a P2 out of that and have a couple more overtakes than he's currently letting on. It's about looking at the longer game, the racecraft, whether that would be viable. Yes, he could stick out the P2, but he's just going to burn his softs, burn his battery, and put himself in a compromised position, because Halliday is looking very consistent and looking like he has, at this point, total control of the race. Even with the lack of DRS, it doesn't look like he sees the rest of the field as a major threat. But saying that, he's got Linton and Soriano both taking either side of him, while the Aston is down in P3. Soriano and Linton's fight is heating up in a big way. Let's see, Soriano currently P1. Is Linton going to be able to push the advantage of the second DRS zone? Immediately tucks out to the outside, or the inside I should say, but doesn't go for it. We don't really see moves coming out turn 4 like we would have expected. I think they don't necessarily want to put themselves in a difficult spot in the second sector.
Of course, as we can see as well, Kai Pearson there in 4th, looking to try and close on the rear of Jan Herde. As we can see further back now, Just Nordark has made the move ahead of Szymon Lekomsky. And I noticed earlier on, Lekomsky did have a battle with Statra, which ended him off the circuit. So I'm not sure if he has any damage in that car, because he dropped down quite a lot. He's dropped down 6 positions in the matter of a couple of laps here. So I'm not sure what's happened there to Lekomsky. But pole to 13th has been a bit of a disaster class here in strategy from the Williams driver. as he heads his way to the final corner, well, I've just say pretty much the final corner, down towards turn one once again, and this time Kai Pearson on the attack, using battery to get himself into third now. Looking to close in on the back of Reese Linton into turn one. Papinta has made his pit stop very early here in this race, so going very early. Look, going for an undercut here, unless he's got damage, I'm not sure. But he has also been joined by Daniel Koya, and that'll be Jerry Van Busters. That's Joe Nordijk into the wall!
Nordijk is in the wall and front wingless, so full yellow. VSC now being called, so Delta has to be preserved. You can see Papinta, Koya, and Van Bussel all heading into the pit and coming out on a set of mediums. Very early stop, and I have to wonder, Lekomsky here starts on pole, currently P15. Surely he would have known, or had to have known to a degree, that soft was going to be the majority play from the field. It's not like these drivers don't talk to each other. So it is a little bit baffling to me that he has decided to start the pole on hards, because he has been overtaken massively. And as we've seen, regaining track position, especially with such a compound difference, massive uphill task.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, isn't it, there from Lekomsky to try to take the hards as... Oh, and Merkel's got a drive-through! Soriano's got a drive-through after speeding under VSC, and yet again looking like it could be another failed race here for the Ferrari driver, as we can see people pitting side by side, and Soriano yet again as Max Grossman gets a penalty into the pit lane, penalty galore on lap 15 of 36.
Yeah, everyone's been handing a penalty. Say, Joost is getting a speeding penalty. That's going to be another one added to the tally. Joost is just going to have enough. He's retiring right there and then. Mirko, of course, going to be absolutely livid that he's got a drive-through. It might even be minutia of milliseconds, but speeding is speeding. He was keeping the delta, but he kept it a little bit too close. He was negative, so he did get handed that. So he is going to have to serve that very soon. And Linton... Well, Linton's going to be in a very happy spot, because as it stands, he is set to take the lead of this championship.
You wouldn't think it would, you, 3 rounds ago, that Mirko's going to lose the championship fight once again, and this time it'll be to Reese Linton, not Jack West. And I do feel for Mirko, because it seems like every race there's some sort of chaos that he gets involved in, and well, this time unfortunately it was Haas making a mistake, ending in him having the VSC penalty, and I'm not sure if that can be removed, but of course, oh no, of course it can't. It's a drive-through. I don't know why I even said that. There we are. He's serving his drive-through now, so pretty much 2 pit stops have to be made by Soriano, 1 by everybody else unless you have damage. So Soriano is probably out of the runnings here as Lekomsky from pole to DNF here in this race. I don't think that could have gone worse for the Williams, or the Veloci Academy driver tonight, as we can see as well. Reese and Kai swapping for first and second. Further back, Tucker Hardy is also in a very good position. He's third. Mirko's currently going to be scoring no points, so Tucker could also jump up to being very close to being back behind second.
Yeah, he would still retain third, I believe, but he is going to be within striking distance of that P2, and that is going to be a very big win for him heading into Texas. He just needs to bring it through at this point. You've only got 6 soft runners remaining, and of course that is P1 through 5 with Linton, Pearson, Hardy, Sabrino, Hjeldsen, and then all the way down in now P11. That is going to be Soriano being overtaken by not only Van Bussel, but Koya, Grosspointer. The pace has gone for Soriano. Has he got a puncture or delamination of some kind? No, his car is fine.
He's helping Camille.
But he's jumping down massively.
Yep, as the top 4 pits, and Hjeldsen stays out to take the lead of the race along with Leo Lund, as we can see there. Camille make his way up into P14, and Mirko, I think it's safe to say he won't be scoring any points here tonight in this race unless there's a safety car, which can help him at the end as he heads his way into the pit lane, and Mirko gets a 5-second penalty. Oh, what a day it could have been here for Mirko. As we were saying, he could be looking to take a victory or a top 3 here tonight. Unfortunately, that is definitely looking likely to not be the case. But our top 3 staying out, of course, is Leo Lund, Daniel Kjelsen, and Louis Welch. As we can see, our net leader of the race is Landy Pepitra ahead of Max Grosspointer and Daniel Koya in 3rd position, as they all head their way through in towards turn number 6 here. We'll see who is looking to make moves, and Daniel there looking to just stick behind the back of Max for now. Doesn't want to move through because of the DRS being available here.
Yep, well, Soriano has remained committed to the race, it seems, because despite the 5-second penalty, usually emblematic of a retirement coming, he's still in, and he's got on the mediums like the rest of the field. So he's still in this race. Mirko is down in P17 right now, and it is unfortunate. You really wanted to see him pick up some momentum. It was all looking good on the quali front because we'd gone from middling results in quali of the past 2 rounds to then a very strong quali, being in the top rows. But unfortunately, just not to be. Meanwhile, top end of the field, you've got Grosspointer and Koya going for a little bit of a trade heading into the first corner, as Koya is going to be holding on to P5. But now the gaps are quite substantial between the rest of this field. So Pepinta's marooned. Koya is on target from Van Bussel and Grosspointer for the DRS. They're getting very close as they head into turn 4. We're starting to see a few different races form now that the pit window has scattered the field.
Of course, and well, I don't think we can see past Lenny winning this race. He's got a 3.5 second gap now to P5. The only advantage they've got is DRS. Apart from that, they've got nothing because they're all on very similar lap tyres. And all those who are further back, you know, lots of Kai and Reese who are on better tyres need to still work their way up. So Lenny has just got to keep himself consistent for now. There's no reason why he can't win this race. So we'll see what Pepinta can do. And of course, being, I think, 5th in the championship, a win for him would also put him in the likes of trying to finish up in towards 3rd position in this championship. So still looking good here for Pepinta. You've got Koya in 2nd and Van Bussel in 3rd, as Mats Grossbutner looking to try and take net 3rd in this race. But the issue he has is, of course, that 5-second penalty. Now, I saw him going side by side with someone into the pit, so it could have also been the fact he got a bit of a tap into the pit lane, but obviously that is not entirely sure at all, as Joris Kroes now into P7 ahead of Van Bussel. He's also having a very good race here in the Mercedes, as that's a spin for Jan Halliday.
Jan Halliday off the field, and what was a very strong run has now turned into a little bit of a disaster for him, in the same way that it has for our championship lead. But Halliday, now P14, he still is within striking distance. He could make up some time, but it's not looking good for either of them. Now, the dynamics has become very, very different. We're seeing a battle between Van Bussel and Derbicourt. They are going to be locking wheels, bumping rubber as we head through the second sector. Derbicourt firing it on the inside. Van Bussel tucking in behind, going back around again, trying to get a bit of a switchback as we coming out in through turn 11 into Jinsao turn 12. It's going to be Derbicourt staying out ahead, but not without a little bit of retaliation from Van Bussel, because I don't think he was too happy with that move. Didn't seem like the friendliest of overtakes.
Of course, but that move there from Derbicourt has brought Maurice Linton and Kai Pearson back into the battle for P9. So we'll see what those guys can do as well to try and fight back with Jerry and Lillian. But you can see there, Jerry for a second went for a bit of a deep move as Jan Halliday gets a penalty in the pit lane and unfortunately will retire from this race. So 1st and 2nd are no more here tonight in Brazil. So we'll see what the rest of the field can do, as Mirko is also in 3rd on the grid. He's now down to P16, meaning at the moment none of our top 3 will score points. Bit of a curse here at Brazil, it seems.
It's a complete inversion of the fields. Our top runners are some of the, say, the lowest placed, and short of, you can see just down there, Jan Halliday joins Lekomsky, Nordyke and Stevens all in retiring from the race. We do see battles continue to rage on. This time, Reese Linton, he is going to be making a push. He can see the opportunity that lies ahead. His championship rival is all the way down and completely out of the points. He's on the cusp of the points, but needs to make some movements upwards. Tycho Hardy is going to be his other main rival, being just 9 points behind. And that is going to put a little bit of fire underneath him. Lou Welch going to be one of the last 2 cars to pit in, as the only remaining car on the field yet to pit is Leo Lund. 1.7 seconds clear of Pepinta, but that gap is set to shrink.
Well, we'll see here. Does Leo Lund hold up Lenny Pepinta here in this race? A Red Bull versus an Alpine. This could get rather scrappy unless Leo decides to pit here on this lap. So we'll see what Pepinta has to do to fight past Leo Lund. Of course, in the Verlace Academy team, and I do notice further behind there is a few drivers from that team taking part, so it might be a bit of a strategy here from Leo, or also he might just be wanting to try and stick it out as long as he can on a set of those hard tyres. As we can see further behind there, that gap between Pepinta and Grosspointer is 3.9 seconds. That gap has not gone down. It's not really gone up over these past 6 or 7 laps. So Pepinta here is in a very, very good position to try and take the win here tonight in Brazil. And for Max as well, a big shame for him to have that penalty, because that will drop him down to P10 here in this race.
Yeah, but just jumping back onto Pepinta for a second, he's marching to his own drum. He's undisturbed in his own lane. Lund now heading into the pits after speeding in the pit lane is going to be handed a 5-second penalty, joining the roster of drivers to do so. It seems that the Interlagos pit lane is a little bit cursed. We've had quite a few speeding penalties coming out from that pit lane, but look at now that the grid has stabilized. Look at the gap. 4 seconds, and Grosspointer and Koya are going to fight, which could make that gap even bigger. So if Pepinta can just keep his head down and bring it home, we could be looking at one of the best sweeps of the season.
Yeah, definitely. It's been brilliant here, hasn't it, from Pepinta so far as well. You know, in the top 10, we got Grosspointer, Koya, Kroos and Derbacor, Pearson and Van Bossel, who haven't really found themselves in points that much this season. So it's nice to see a bit of a mixed up grid here tonight. And we'll see what they all can do from their positions and maybe try and make a few more as this race continues on. As we can see as well, Reece Linton now obviously looking to fight for the championship, needs to finish in P6 or higher if he wants to take the championship lead away from Mirko Soriano, which he does now. Into P6 goes Reece Linton ahead of Lily and Derbacor, and well, I wouldn't say it wasn't the most least strategised move there from Lillian and Reece, as Kai Pearson takes P7, and we can see Sasha take P3 ahead of Koya as they go side by side and still fighting for position here. This is technically for P2 because Grosspointer has a penalty, and now Joris Krozen looking to try and get involved and maybe make his best race of the season here tonight. So as we can see 4 race cut drivers in a row, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th.
Yep, and I will say, as Linton came across the line, he had the 2 AlphaTauris hounding him either side from behind. A little bit of a scary sight there. So it is going to be a little bit of a toss-up to see who wins out of this relative mid-pack battle. You're going to have a big stack of drivers battling for P4 and P3. So what will be making of this race, we don't know. What we do know, though, is currently the standings are that Krozen is going to try to make an attack on Pearson, but it's not quite going to land. It's going to leave him a little bit open to Derbacor. But the top drivers to look at tonight, Pepinta, Grosspointer, although has got the penalty, is going to be dropped down. But Staturer, Koya, Linton, Pearson, Krozen, and Derbacor all in very close proximity. And very much fighting here. As you can see, Linton is going to make herself very comfortable on the apex of turn 1 through the center S. Now bump and contact between Koya and Linton. So Koya is going to have to back off in a big way, preserve car control. And that is going to lead him right into the jaws of Pearson, Krozen and Derbacor. Very close to the back there. We'll see how this plays out.
Of course, as they head their way through up in towards turn 6 once more, of course, now Reece Linton on the back of Camel Satcher here for P3. In the race, technically P2, as obviously Max Grosspointer has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits, as we can see as well. Pearson ahead of Koya now for P5. You can see, though, the McLaren going to try and fight and push Pearson a little bit wide. Can't do so that well, as Pearson is on, of course, better tyres here than Daniel Koya as they head their way into turn 10. No move can be made now. It's Krozen's turn to try and make a pass through. The race coach is on a charge, looking to get past the F7R as they head their way to Junt South. And we'll see when Joris can make this move further ahead as well. Reece Linton on the back of Camel Satra here. The pace is electric so far from Linton and Pepinta, of course, driving the Alpines. These two doing a brilliant job here tonight, and with 10 laps left to go in this race, I can't see anyone winning apart from Pepinta or Linton here at this current point of Linton, to the outside of Stasher. I can't make the move. Kai Pearson then looking to close in further back. We can see Krozen ahead of Koya, and then Derbacor looking to close in as well to try and bring that gap down.
Yep, few trades happening across the field. Few more cars looking to get a slice of the podium pie or even the top 5, as you've got Koya trying to do a little bit of recovery. I imagine a little bit rattled from the overtake that put him a few positions down. I wonder if the stewards are going to get a little bit of a tap on the shoulder for that one. A little bit of a notice to say, hey, maybe you want to look at this. But hopefully things keep out of trouble. Let's see what the rest of this field does, as we've got Linton currently sat P4, is chomping at the bit to get on the back of Statura and to get himself into P3. He's made his presence known. The pressure is certainly felt by the Ferrari, as we're seeing him take a little bit more of a defensive run. Though, look to be on even keel by all other metrics. Same tyre use, same battery, Same situation with DRS. The only difference is that Linton is looking a little hungrier. Linton's going to go for it. Contact between the two as they come around turn 14 and 15 here. Coming up to the start-finish line, starting out this next lap. It's going to be a trade, but not between the drivers you expect, as Grosspointer is going to be conceding the spot to Stasherer. Linton is now going to be joining the fight, but with a new challenger involved. Stasherer up into P2 here, and making a good scenario out of the situation. Grosspointer is going to try and go for an attack through turn 4, but it's not going to be successful. The Ferrari goes into P2.
And well, Lenny Pipinter here is probably rubbing his hands knowing that this battle's getting more intense for P2 and below, meaning he can try and run away a little bit more here in this race. As we can see, Recenton hungry to get past Grosspointer and Stasherer, but just can't find a way through here on the back of these two in second and third, as well as we can see behind Joris Crozen there on the rear of Kai Pearson, as they head their way down towards turn number 10 once more here in this race. And we'll see who can finish in the top 5, because here nothing's confirmed at this current point, as now we can see Max Grosspointer there making a mistake, backing up into turn 12, and now allows Camel to run away a little bit more. And we'll see what can Recenton do to fight away, what can Kai Pearson do, what can Joris Crozen do here in this race to try and disrupt that fight for second and third as they head their way down towards turn number 1 once more. And even though Max was 7/10 back heading out of turn 12, he's now 2/10 back into turn 1.
Well, it's certainly not going to be a welcome party with the red carpet. It's going to be a hard tooth and nail fight. As you've got a trade between Sergio Sobrino and Jerry Van Bussel. They are going to lock horns intermittently. It's going to be a lot of back and forth, but we got Tycho Hardy making it 1, nearly making it 2, coming into turn 4. As both the McLarens reunited, Tycho Hardy is going to be pushing as hard as he can, fighting to get as many positions as he can and quickly, but Hardy is looking very hungry to get into points-paying positions. That was a very daring move. He dives to the inside to get it around Van Bussel, immediately jumps to the outside to try and get it around Sobrino, and continues to commit, even with Koya being ahead of him.
Yeah, as they head their way through towards Junsao, we can see Linton really hitting, and it did hit the back of Grosspointer there, heading into Junsao. So we'll see what happens with that as they head their way once again down towards turn number 1 for lap 27 of 36. It will become lap 28 of 36 once Pipinter crosses the line to start another lap, as they head their way down to turn once more, and this time no moves being made, which is quite a surprise to say, as they head down to turn 1 here in Brazil, in towards the Senarasses, and then of course then the Retro-Aposta in towards the Descida de Largo. We'll see here, can Recenton make a move? No, he can't. He's a little bit too further back. You start to think now, he knows that he can't catch Pipinter, so would his thing to be just to sit behind and launch an attack on the last couple of laps, maybe?
Yeah, and I think this is where drivers are now starting to lock in their positions. They need to decide how hard they're committing to moving up, or whether they're going to play it a little bit safer and potentially get some more consistent points, because they can put themselves under compromise. We're seeing Linton taking the much more aggressive approach here. Maybe not to the likes of trying to catch up to Pipinter, because you can see he's well up the road, at least a corner. But now he can potentially still get a podium on the books. And the difference between 4th and 2nd, that is not insignificant. That is 4 points. And that could be the difference between him being on the top of the championship table and him being within easy distance of being taken by another car.
Indeed, as they head their way down once again. And, you know, in this race, you can't really say who's going to finish where, because there's what? The train is all the way down to P14 in this race. That is how far down this train is. And also, as Julian Klaffenbach there made a mistake, because I've noticed he's dropped quite far back, and now in the reins of being with Mirko Soriano for P15. So I'm not sure what's happened to him. He was near the back, but he wasn't that far back before, Seppi. So maybe he's also made a bit of a mistake. But yet again, bit of a poor weekend, hasn't it, for that? Well, a bit of a poor Thursday for the Hassies.
Yeah, it's really not played into their favour all that well. Klaffenbach, in fact, going very passive and practically letting Soriano just go by. So now it's going to be a little bit of a waiting game for them. And it's going to be a little bit of a toss-up as to whether they're going to continue to push, or maybe they concede and call it quits. But we are just 5 or so laps away from the end. So I'd say worth sticking it out. Commit. Welch and Van Bussel, they are going to be battling for P12. Mirko could be closing a bit, but 13 seconds between himself and Jeltsin. I don't see him making any better than P15, especially with a penalty to his name.
Of course, and it would be, what, 3 rounds in a row without any sort of any sort of points, which is a big shame for our championship leader, as they all weave into turn one. As they head into turn one, there I saw Daniel, Sergio, Lily, and Joris all weaving around. You couldn't quite see what was going on in towards turn number one for a second, as we can see once again, we've got Linton on the attack of Grosspointer as they head their way down towards turn number 4. We can see that gap there around 1.8 tenths of a second, but just can't come down below that. We've got Debacourt on the back of Crows, and we've got further back there Sabrino looking to make a move ahead of Daniel Kai for P8. Can Sabrino get the move done to the outside? He can't. Bit of battery being used there by the McLaren and keeps that P8 just for now. But Sabrino looks a lot quicker in pace at this current point as they head their way down to turn 8. Then Daniel Kai there nearly taken out the back of Debacourt, as that was also Tucker Hardy on the back of Sergio Sabrino.
Yep, big sense coming in from both of the McLarens right now. They are looking to get some positions and get them done fast because they know they're running out of time. So Hardy is going to be pushing to try and get any more points. You have got Van Bussel, who is around and is having to drop off the field massively. Over 4 seconds of time lost, and he's going to be absolutely fuming with that one. Back up in the mid-pack, you see a few different narratives going on. You've got Derbacourt, who is trying to chase down to the back of Crozen, and then you've got Reese Linton also trying to keep within proximity of Grosspointer and Staturer. Not necessarily going for the move, but maybe biding his time.
Indeed, there's Leo Lund gets caught up and spins around with Sergio Sabrino down at turn 2. They came to contact. Sergio pushed Leo onto the curb, and they both spin round in sympathy down at turn number 2. What a shame for Sergio and Leo, who were both looking to try and score some points here tonight in the race, which means Louis Welch goes up into P9 after being in a bit of nowhere earlier on when he stayed out longer on those tyres. As now we can see as well Kjelsen looking to get closer to getting himself up in towards P11, as we can see Reese Linton there looking for a move on Max, but just can't find his way through here. There's nothing that Reese Linton can do at all to get past the sabre here of Max Grosspointer, though with the lead. It's 5.3 seconds. It's extended by a second again.
I'm going to say very aggressive move there from London. Continued to hold the line, and unfortunately got unsettled on the curves to the point where it was no longer savable. Granted, there wasn't much space for him, but then you have to ask the question of, was the space warranted? Was it a bit of a send in there? Of course, the stewards are going to have their own say, but as far as we can see here, it looks like both parties could have been a bit more cooperative. But I say we can see Linton is going for a bit of an attack, but he's got boxed in. Pearson making it a double. Crozen going in just behind as well. Derbacourt making it a big push. Linton has gone from P4 to P7 as this top end of the pack has just lit up contact. Big crash. Linton is in the wall and he's out.
Oh, and he got caught up with Louis Welch, and it's a safety car, and Lenny Pintonet could be absolutely doomed here in this race. And well, whoever Linton was fighting beforehand, I wouldn't say it was the cleanest battle at all, and unfortunately ended him in the wall after contact at turn 5. Pepinta's gap has gone down to absolutely nothing here in this race, and what a race this has been here. It has been chaos, carnage, contact. Everything has been thrown at all the drivers here tonight, and well, our 2 championship protagonists are out of any contention here for points, meaning Tucker Hardy is the only one who's going to get points in the top 3.
When I say push comes to shove, you know that's just a saying, right? That's meant to be just a phrase. I don't literally mean push comes to shove. But regardless, the safety car is out, everyone is going to be jumping in, and now it's going to be a soft tyre shootout. Lap 34, the safety car is going to be up until, because the game has to give us 2 laps of undisturbed running. So let's see who is going to be coming out quick. Of course, it is going to be Pepinta first out of the pits, but that 7-second nearly gap that he has gone and got by this point of the race, it's all going to be for naught. What was a complete lock-in and looking like an absolute masterclass of a race has now turned into something a little bit more uncertain. Kjelsen has also been a big benefactor. He's gone from, what, P19 to P5?
Yeah, and well, we say that Mirko could score points here tonight. That is the strangest thing to say. After serving 2 pit stops and a penalty, Mirko Soriano could be on score for points. It's going to be hard, but definitely more than possible. And also, Sabrino was taken out at turn 1 along with, I believe it was, I can't remember who it was, but he got, obviously, contact at turn 1. He's now back into the points. Yep, this race it's been an interesting one, and I would say it's not been the cleanest. I've seen many questionable things on my camera side. I'm not sure if you saw them on yours, but there was Yes, a little bit of moves that I wouldn't say would go well with the stewards down at turn number 2.
Well, the stewards are never going to be out of a job. At least we can say that.
Not tonight.
Yeah, we keep people in jobs. We're feeding the employment of stewards here in the league racing scene. Of course, they are going to have their says. We have a limited perspective here from the commentary box, but as we come onto the safety car, lap 33 of 36, as things currently stand, Papinta looking to have a lockout, unfortunately, has seen his gap diminish to just a few tenths of a second. So a lot more pressure is now going to be riding on him to confirm and get this race win done. Got Staturer just behind with Pearson going for a big double overtake just before the SC. Really doing a good move. And amidst the chaos of that upper mid pack, P3 through to P7, it's going to be quite a interesting race restart. That's all I can really say. I am a little bit nervous for how things are going to kick off, because with how hungry and how aggressive we've seen the drivers go, it's going to be fireworks.
Of course, and you look through the stories here. So Papinta is looking to win after leading for so long, having such a big gap. You got Camel looking to try and take a win for Ferrari. Obviously with Mirko's misfortune, it'd be nice for Ferrari to get themselves onto the top step, and also Kyle Pearson, who's looking to get himself his first win along in this season, along with Joris, along with Daniel, Lillian, Max, Tycho, Sergio. So they're all going to be fighting so hard to get a podium, to get a win here tonight in this season. And, well, this is going to be absolute chaos. But I believe, Sappy, the safety car should come in this lap, as we can see Julian Klapperbach here just get to the rear of the train very, very shortly.
Well, let's have a look at the prospective standings for a second while the safety car is coming around, gathering everyone up, and it is going to be coming in this lap. We have Linton, of course, bowing out. Soriano potentially on the topic of points if he can make up 4 positions in these next 2 laps. Safety car coming in. Papinta, if he can confirm this win, he'll be on 59 points, equal with his teammate. Tycho Hardy could be getting some points as well, but the big thing here is now it's going to be a all guns blazing shootout between the different drivers. Papinta leads, and he's currently playing it a little bit slow. Trying to get some heat into those soft tyres. He's trying to throw off Staturer. See what he can do here. Final restart and only safety car of the session. Luckily, there's going to be Papinta. He's going for it. He's caught Staturer completely off guard. Already half a second as we cross the line. Green flag speed. And you can see immediately 3, 4 wide coming around the final couple of laps. Krozen is going to be in P4 immediately on the defensive from Yeltsin. Yeltsin, in fact, going to be on the outside as Krozen has to rejoin the track, going in too deep. Koya coming in through on the inside of turn 4. It's going to be an absolute pandemonium here as there's contact coming in from some of the mid-pack.
There is Koya hit the back of Kelson in towards turn number 4 and comes to contact. Kelson went wide, comes back on the circuit, back in P4, and Nate Krozen looking to make an attack into turn 8, sends it on the back of Koya. Can he get the move done? He keeps it to the outside at turn number 9, keeps it all the way around the outside. Koya pushes in wide, he still tries to stick his wheel into turn 10. Can he get the move complete into the braking zone? He's looking like he can. He's going to be ahead for a second. Daniel's back at the inside though as I head down to turn 11, and then of course in towards jump 7. Derbacor's looking to join the party here for P5.
Yeah, Krozen has managed to get the move done, and he was not giving an inch. He wanted that P5, and he didn't care how he was going to do it, but he was going to get it done, and has so far got it. We're seeing no DRS, and we're not going to see DRS till the end, so it is just going to be a straight shot till the end. Everyone with full batteries, everyone with fresh softs. It's all even playing, and now it's just a matter of bringing it home to the finish. Keep yourself out of trouble. They are going for very aggressive moves, but with this stage of the race and with so much being at stake for some of these championship runners, it could be the big difference that they need.
Of course, as they head their way down towards turn number 6, now the battle is between Lenny, Camel and Kai for P1, 2 and 3 here in this race. And Camel under pressure here from Pearson as they head down towards turn number 6 and 7 once more into turn number 8 and 9. They go and just taking it round nice and quickly as that'll be Tiger Hardy, who's had a spin down at turn number 8. So the top 3 in the championship not going to score points here tonight in Brazil as they head their way through in towards Johnstown. It looks like it will be Papinta who will take victory here tonight unless Camel can dump pump the battery down to turn 1, but I don't think he's got enough pace at all to try and compete here with Lenny Pepinta for the victory. And what a race it has been by Lenny Pepinta. Brilliant. He pitted early. He got the strategy to work and leads all the way to the end. And it's Pepinta who wins in Brazil ahead of Camel Stacher and Kai Pearson in the top 3. And Daniel Kjelsen will come home P4 ahead of Joris in P5. What a race that was to the end. And the biggest story of them all was Mirko, Tycho and Reese. 1, 2 and 3 in the championship, scored 0 points here tonight in Brazil, and what a shame it was for those guys. And Pepinta looking to close in a little bit more to that top 4.
It's Pearson's first points, and Pepinta's big win here is now going to put him even with his teammate heading into the final round. So it's going to be, in effect, a 3-way fight for the championship. Soriano on 64, and then Linton and Pepinta, the Alpines, 2 and 3 on 59. But here you go, folks. This is your final standings. Kai Pearson with the fastest lap as well, adding just another sweet point, making it 11 and putting himself into P20 in the respective standings. But it's going to be Pepinta, Stacher and Pearson with your top 3 spots, followed by Kjelsen, Krozen, Koya, Derbecourt, Grosspointer, Sabrino, and Leo Lund making your top 10. In the following bottom 10, you have Welch, Van Bussel, Soriano, Klaffenbach, and Hardy following an unfortunate spin. Does make it home, but only P15, and then not making it home to the finishers. Linton in the wall, Jan Halliday, Blakomsky, Nordyke, and Stevens all retiring. And I did not expect the race to go that way in the end. Like that last 2-lap shootout was wild. So we saw a very, very aggressive moves from some, but we really are making it going. We're making it go all the way to the final race in terms of the championship, folks.
Of course, and we'll see if we can get word from our top 3 in the interview room. There, we'll tag Camel, Lenny, and Kai to see if we can grab them in. But what an ending that was to the race, and now the championship. Obviously, with Klaffenbach, Linton, Hardy, and Soriano scoring 0 points, it means Lenny Pepinta now sits himself in third. Third. 0 points back off second, meaning the top 3 are separated by 5 points going into the final round. This is going to be a brilliant championship ending, of course, in Texas between the top 3, but it will also be nice if we can speak from the top 3 here in this race. And we have Lenny and Kai, so we'll drag them in to the interview room now, and we'll have a quick chat too. First and third. So we'll drag them both in. We'll speak to Kai first. Kai, mate, welcome into the interview room. Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect. So welcome in, mate. Brilliant race. Bit chaotic throughout the race, I think, for all of you. And of course, coming home P3 in the end, I think it's quite relieving, isn't it, to get a podium after quite an interesting race.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, to be honest. We've just not had the greatest luck, I don't think, but it's good to get a podium and points on the board finally.
Of course, and well, we could say you'd be far up the championship, but you're a little bit further back from that for now. But obviously, going through towards Texas next week, do you think you can try and get a podium again, or maybe try and fight for a win?
Yeah, sure. I quite like the track. I think my pace is alright there as well, so we'll try our best.
Of course. So well done, mate, on the third. That's all from me. Anything from you, Sappy?
I mean, I want to ask 2 main things, really. I mean, what were your expectations heading into today's race, and also when things kicked off with like the safety car, the VSC, and when you were fighting in those high rank positions, how did your strategy change at all, or were you sort of fairly consistent from start to finish in your plan for the race today?
I wasn't that positive coming into this race because Brazil it's quite bad for me, but yeah, I think the main strategy when the safety car came out was to not lose a position, to be honest. Like P3, how my season's gone is, yeah, I'll just take that, to be honest. But I think P2 was in reach if I saved a little bit more battery.
Yeah, we made it work very nicely regardless. I mean, podium after a bit of a drought, it must be feeling good. And as you say, Texas is a fairly, strong one. You say you like the track. So hopefully we'll see that momentum build. I mean, looking forward, have you got plans, of course, as we look towards the F124 game? How are you feeling towards that in terms of league racing, or is that not really on your radar yet?
I'm going to treat it the same as this game, to be honest. I'll push hard at the start when the game comes out. Try learn the game, see what's quick, what's not quick, and then see how the pace is compared to the rest.
Well, you certainly got some pace on tap there, so I imagine it will transfer over just fine. Well, brilliant job today, mate, and a well-earned podium.
Cheers, boys.
Right, so we'll speak to Lenny Pippin next as he was in here second. So Lenny, mate, can you hear us? Welcome in.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So brilliant race, P1 in the end, and it's been a bit of a long time coming. I think you got a victory or something a little bit further back in the season, but of course, you know, the VSC after your spin kind of helped you out a little bit, didn't it, after that pit stop? But I think in the end your pace was brilliant all the way through. Explain to us, how did that race feel for you going through it?
Yeah, the VSC was extremely lucky from my side because I just pitted when the VSC came out, so I was extremely lucky on that. But otherwise, the pace on the race was there. The pace was good, so yeah, pretty happy to win this race.
Of course, and now it puts you within 5 points of Mirko and obviously puts you on the same points as Race. So do you reckon in Texas you can try and fight for that championship and come home on the upper hand?
Yeah, I will try to fight the Pro Championship because it is my favorite track. I'm not that far from the top one, so yeah, I'll try to do my best in Texas.
Of course, and I think, you know, for yourself, this championship has been a bit up and down. You've had yourself at the top, but you've also had yourself a little bit further down at the bottom. So going through, would you say that you've been pleased with this championship so far for yourself?
I would say that championship was not really the key from my side, but yeah, 5 points in the last race. It's gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah,
and I really hope to do my best in Texas.
Indeed. Well, that's all from me. Anything from you, Sappy?
I haven't really got much else to add. I mean, an amazing run. I do have to wonder what your feelings were when the full course safety car came out at the last few laps of the race. Because obviously you built about a 6.5 second gap by that point, nearly 7 seconds. What was going through your mind when that safety car came in, and inversely, when you went back to full race pace on lap 34?
When I saw the safety car coming, I was like, no way. But I was just hoping to have like two laps of racing to not get DRS, and that was it. Just trying to build the gap on the restart and just keep the position.
Yep, and it worked out real well for you. So, I mean, a race to be proud of, mate. And of course, as we go into the final round, a comfortable, home advantage, saying it's your favourite track in Texas, and just 5 points away from the championship. We've got a three-way fight on the cards. Of course, to say Siriano, Linton, they're your main, I guess, opponents heading into that last race, and it's going to be amazing. And above all else, you've been a really good driver this season, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can do next round out.
I'm looking forward to.
Thank you, Lenny, for joining us, mate. Have a good one.
Thanks.
And enjoy that victory. And
Thanks.
finally, we'll speak to Camel. Welcome in, mate. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Brilliant. So, very nice race indeed. Second place for yourself. Unfortunate for Mirko, unfortunately. But in the end, it all comes out well for you. And it was a bit of a chaotic one again, as we've said to Kai and Lenny. Explain to us, how did that race go for yourself?
Yeah, well, there's, in the first stint, I lost some positions after first lap, which was not ideal. But then with the VSC and all the carnage, I somehow managed to get into the second place. And then I somehow got P1. And then at the back, I don't know what happened. And then that was just my race.
Yeah, indeed. And was you expecting to get P2 in the end, or where was you thinking you'd finish in this race at the start?
I mean, at the start, of course, we wanted to get 1 and 2 with Mirko, obviously. So that was the goal. We had very decent positions after quali. So that was surely possible. But after the first stint, I didn't think I could still end up on the podium. But yeah.
Of course, and of course, next week we're off to Texas. Do you reckon you can do very well there?
Well, I can, for sure. I can do well on every track. It's just a thing that you have to get your lap in quali good.
Yeah.
And, don't get involved in any incidents. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's all from me, mate. So congratulations on the second place. Anything from you, Sappy?
Not really too much from me. Just a really good round. Very well done. Looking forward to see what you bring to the table in Texas. I know you're looking forward to F124, or is that something not really on your radar?
Well, of course I'm looking for F124, but I've played some beta. Was not great. I hope it will get fixed.
Time will be the tell. But say, amazing to have you on the podium, mate. And let's see what we can do. Final step of F1 23 before the new game. Let's see you there, hopefully.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week, mate. Have a good one. Thanks for joining. Right, so Sappy, we've come to the end of our interview stage, and well, it was a very nice interview to have the top three, and I think those three we haven't spoken to this season, apart from I think we spoke to Lenny earlier on, which is brilliant to obviously speak to our top three in that race, but to kind of come out of it, we had obviously Soriano with that VSC penalty. We had Linton with that bit of a collision with I think it was Welch in the end who we had a collision with, and then obviously Tiger Hardy having a bit of a spin, it seemed, down at turn 10. So our top three scoring no points. Julian Klaffenbach as well, who's in fourth, scored no points, meaning Lenny Pepinza is more than happy to get himself up into third and be 5 points back from our championship leader. And, you know, I think everyone knows, as long as I've been here at PSGL, I'll say every single time, there's nothing better than a championship with a points, you know, with a bit of a battle for the championship in the final round. So I'm very excited myself to be back here next week, of course, for the finale of the season. Kota, three drivers, fighting for the championship. Sappy, it cannot get any better than this to end this cycle, can it?
Yeah, I think as far as endings go, you can't really top it. Short of an equal points battle at the end, but the chances of that happening, I mean, I'm no mathematician, but what I do know is that this last round is going to be amazing. We've got three top class drivers going to be fighting out within 5 points of each other for the podium. That's the difference between first and third. So everything is going to be on the line heading into Kota. You won't want to miss it, folks. So make sure, if you haven't done already, you subscribe, you like the stream, you enjoy what we do here, you want to be here for the finale of this season. And with that all being said, we are going to sign off. We will see you same time next week for Kota. Support the people that support us, and we will see you very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
He's got the inside, all here is through on the left hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.